I brought my mom and brother from Brazil to visit me in the US and ended up emotionally destroyed in my own home, by user educational_fan_3874. I live in the US and hadn't seen my mom or 15-year-old brother in 1 year. They live in Brazil, and I wanted to give them a special experience, so I paid for everything, including 2 international business class tickets as we used to do once a year, to make them feel comfortable and loved, also in her case healthy-wise. I had planned this trip with care, especially hoping to reconnect with my brother. But from the moment they arrived, my mom was cold, critical, and manipulative in 2 days. She made passive-aggressive remarks like "you could have married better" and mocked the fact that I cook and care for my home even though she lives in Brazil with maids, driver, supported largely by my help. Then things escalated. During a weekend trip, she messaged my husband privately, saying she wanted to speak to him alone. He immediately showed me and told me he wouldn't entertain that. But the next morning, while I was upstairs, she cornered him at the hotel anyway. He texted me while it was happening because he didn't want this drama or entertaining this type of behavior, clearly uncomfortable. When I came down for breakfast, he told her directly, "Anything you want to say should be said to both of us." But in that private moment, she had already tried. She brought up personal things I did over 6 years ago, trying to throw dirt and stir doubt in our marriage. What she didn't expect was that my husband already knew everything. And he asked her, calmly and clearly, "I know all of this. What exactly is your goal in bringing this up?" She started to cry and he was all over meetings and asked to us leave the table at breakfast, which I think that was okay. I tried to ask why she would do that. At the room later, BTW for context, we went to a place in Big Sur for a weekend and she stayed in the room and trying to burn with my own husband. After we arrive, when she figured she won't manipulate my husband and they clash personalities, she locked herself in the room for a week. Why would a mother try to sabotage her daughter's relationship with the man who is my partner, husband, and we are happy? After that, she played the victim. And slowly, she turned my brother against me. The boy I loved like my son, but after being so mistreated, I'm feeling angry. The one I wanted to reconnect with now barely looks at me, barely speaks. He stays in the room with her. I feel erased in my own home. We have 2 days left. I'm emotionally drained. I gave them everything: comfort, love, respect, and I'm walking away with silence, manipulation, and heartbreak. What would you do after something like this? How do you recover when your own mother tries to burn down the life you built and takes your brother with her? And why? My kid deserves your pin, by useriitis_sweatpants. Alrighty folks, strap in for this one. This surprisingly isn't the first time my pins have attracted weirdos. So I was just at a Comic Con today, dressed as Flutter from Dandy's World. Quick context for those who might not know, it's a game on Roblox. Yeah, call me cringe now, but hey, I've always been weird. So as you would expect, I had a lot of kids come up and ask for pictures. Along with taking pictures, I was giving out pins. Just so you have a mental image, I have an Eda bag. It's a bag with clear vinyl on it so you can display pins and such without them falling. Anyway, as I was talking to a kid about a show, they saw a pin on my bag related to it. They asked if they could have it. I politely declined and said, "You can't have that one, but I have all these you can pick from." I took my small baggie filled with my dud pins out. The kid was more than happy to pick one of them. However, seeing as I'm on this sub posting, we all know where this is going. The conversation that followed went like, "Do you really need that pin?" Me, "Hey. I said, do you really need that pin? You look a little too old for this stuff." Me, dumbfounded, that is even happening. "Ma'am, it doesn't matter if I need it or look too old for it. It's my pin, that's not for trade." Kid, he was sweet, "Mom, it's okay. She gave me a different one." But my baby deserves it. He's the correct age bracket for the show anyway. At this point my aunt is calling me, so I just walk away. Thankfully she didn't follow. Does it really matter that much if I happen to like a kids show and want merch of it? Edit, spelling. Edit 2, since I got a message about it, I am a kinda younger adult, I don't know if it's that important to know lol, and the pin in question was of Bandit from Bluey lol. Entitled Mother Demands I Add Her Order to Another Customer's Bill, by Usermsrthartist. Hi, so this happened about 6 years ago, back in 2019, was 24Y/0 at the time, when was still living in New Jersey, just finished college and working as a shift manager at a fast food restaurant which I will not name, while also doing my tattoo apprenticeship. One day, one of the cashiers who I will call Jane came up to me and asked for help as there was a situation in the counter she didn't really know how to deal with. At the counter was this man and his son, and behind him was this woman with 2 younger kids. The man then explained that he is the father of his 10Y/0 son and the woman behind him is his ex, who is the mother of his son, but he is not the father of her 2 other kids. He had custody of his son today, so he was taking him out for lunch and to visit a museum, but the baby mama and her 2 other kids, as he called her, just so happened to also show up at the restaurant the same time he pulled up. She was demanding that he also treat her 2 other kids for lunch and take them to the museum as well, but the man said he is responsible for his son and his son only. His ex then tried to interject, saying that she didn't want her kids to be left out while her oldest kid, the son, got special treatment and that their dads are not in the picture. That said, she wanted the man to pay for the lunches of her 2 other kids as well. I told Jane I'll take it from here, and the man told me that he will order 2 Baconator combos for himself and his son. As I was taking his order, the woman then tried shouting the order for her 2 other kids. The man and his ex then started arguing again, then the man turned to me, adamantly stating he will only pay for his order and that of his son, plus he will pay in cash. The woman then started shouting at me to add her order to his as well. I just told the woman that she will need to wait her turn. The man paid for his order and waited. The woman then came up to me, gave me her order, plus that of her kids, but when I told her the price of her 5 combos, for herself and her 2 kids, she then asked, didn't Booker, referring to her ex, already pay for it? I told her that his order was only for himself and his son, and that her order was separate from his. Also, I only took her order after the man paid, so, yet. The woman then started screaming at me at how hard it is for her to be a single mom, she doesn't have the money to pay, but, she pointing to her the man, her ex, again, saying that he should have paid for her order as he's single, has a full-time job and lives by himself. The man then shouted, reiterating that her 2 other kids are not his responsibility. I told the woman that I sympathize with her, I genuinely do, but that I can't just add her order to that of another customer who already paid and very specifically said he'd only pay for his order. I then asked her if she's still paying for her order or if I need to cancel it. She then tried to grab the credit card from her ex, he pushed her off, then she left, telling the man to take her 2 other kids with him to the museum with him. Yes, she legit just left her kids with him. At this point, I didn't really know what else to do, but the man told me that he'd also like to buy some fries and chili for her 2 other kids he left with her, and told me that he'd drop them off at his ex's, the mom's, place himself. I told him not to bother paying for the extra fries as it's on the house and I'll just add extra fries to his existing order. I decided to share this because I recently witnessed another parent randomly abandoning their kid at a Taco Bell, and that reminded me of this. My dad told me I should pay him back for the child support, by Userami on Miami. Og posted in choosing beggars but got told to add here. TLDR, my dad thought I was rich, so he wanted me to pay him back the $2,000, at most, my mother stole from him each year for child support of 2 kids. We did week on, week off. I'm a bit fuzzy on the details now, blocked memories and all that, but I remember one day after working at a restaurant from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., no lunch, barista, bartender, server, and dish pig, my dad cornered me and said since I was so rich, I wasn't. I was a manager making less than the junior staff, I should pay him back on all the child support my mother stole from him. He then showed me the letters he kept, and with the way he went on and on over the year, I expected it to be thousands per month. Sure, I went to private school, but they chose to send me there before they even got divorced. The plan had originally been to go there from pre-primary, but they missed the cutoff, so I went from year 7 to 12. Also, the cost for the school was done separately outside of child support. So what it was used for was uniforms, swimming lessons, healthcare/Medicare, phone plan, until I turned 16. Then I paid for my own with help from mum to top it off occasionally, as I used my phone as a hotspot so my sister could do homework. Dad didn't want to pay for Wi-Fi as we would waste it. Long story. The rest they dealt with on their own / just paid it if it was their week. So basically, he paid FCK all. About $15 to $20 per week for 2 kids. For year I listed to him, guilt me on it, try and twist us against our mum, and sometimes it worked, have him say he couldn't afford food because of us. All to find out he paid practically nothing. He worked as a locksmith and then a motorbike mechanic in a specialized area. Then went back to being a locksmith. I'm not in contact with him now. Obviously. My sister lives with him still but we're fine. She comes over to stay at mine pretty often, mostly for the Wi-Fi. But she prefers dad's to mum as she has issues with our mum. Longer story there. He just took my sister OB a week-long trip to Bali. All expenses paid. She's 20 and hasn't had a job for over a year. When I last lived with him I was the cook, the cleaner, the caretaker of my sister, the dog walker and the person putting myself in the middle deliberately to avoid hospital visits/animal abuse. But yet, that my dad. A begging man-child. Entitled mom gets mad at me for beating her son in a boxing match, by user FarmerNo6614. So this happened a few months ago. I go to a boxing gym and I'm pretty good at it. There was this kid who was around 14, same age as me. One day, his mom came to watch him box. Me, Abraham Lincoln. BC, boxing coach. K, kid. M, entitled mom. So BC put me in a sparring session with the kid. I kept hitting him with hooks and jabs and stuff, and by the time it was over you could see he wasn't happy. His ego was hurt pretty badly. That's when M yells at the top of her throat, "How dare you?" Me, you talking to me? M, yes. Me, what did I do? M, you hurt K. BC, how could you let this animal hurt my angel? BC, it's boxing, ma'am. I was just standing there feeling a bit awkward. K, mom, please. She ignored her kid and started demanding that I be kicked out from the gym and be put in jail. She tried to climb into the ring but security pulled her out. Then BC told her, "Ma'am, if you don't want your kid to be hurt, maybe boxing isn't the right sport for him." She yelled, "I'm going to sue this place," and she stormed out with EK. She was probably bluffing, she never sued anybody there.